All right, welcome back to it. We continue the conversation here live from the nation's capital. I am. We're covering all the big stories in Michigan, of course, as we do every single day here on the Steve Gruber Show to make sure you're up to speed in your own neck of the woods. Joining me now, State Representative Brad Paquette. He is from Michigan House District 37. Brad, nice to have you back on the program.
Hey, thank you for having me, Steve. I appreciate you.
Always good to see you. All right. For folks that don't know, I always do this. District 37 is where?
Southwest Michigan, so almost as far south and west as you can go.
So, like in the shadow of Notre Dame, how sad. Just
Very true.
Yeah. At any rate, you're working on some things. The FDA claims that COVID shots killed some kids, at least 10. They're vowing new vaccine rules. Look, COVID was a bad experience all the way around. Whether it was the governor locking us out of the garden department, her husband taking out the boat, people told they couldn't use their vacation homes, or these vaccines that were basically foisted upon us, being told that they were safe and effective. I'm not sure they were either at this point. I got the first 2 shots, and I will never do that again. That's me. Where do you come down on this, Brad?
Well, I was hesitant about these shots, but I will say that I voted to supply funding during that time for individuals that wanted to get it. I voted to support that. And now, years later, and after what I've personally experienced, I come to regret that vote after looking into this a bit more. And when you ask some questions, you get some pretty specific responses. After the Project Veritas video where there was the director of mRNA, Jordan Walker, talking, he worked for Pfizer, and he was talking about the Frankenstein science that they were doing there with these viruses, modifying them to make them, more deadly, in the gain-of-function research they were partaking in. I just called up the government affairs at Pfizer, and I said, did this guy actually work for you? And they blocked my phone number. And so after I started really inquiring more about this and then hearing from constituents and that have had heart pain and problems after the COVID shot, a lot of people have gotten nothing. So seeing this movement and an indication that there's going to be some oversight, especially with that adverse reporting system, VAERS, and how they're actually looking into that now. I have a case in VAERS currently right now with what I experienced after the shot. Yeah. And I know a lot of people are excited to get some attention.
Yeah, I got very ill after the shot. I had vertigo, never experienced vertigo in my life. I had it so bad I could not sit up straight. I had to call my doctor to get a prescription called Antivert. I never even heard what I said to my doctor. I said, so let me get this straight. I have to have a prescription medication for vertigo because I took the vaccine. He says, I guess so. I think he was as confused as I was, right? It was a terrible thing. I'm going to give you credit here, Brad. You admitted you were wrong. That's pretty rare for a politician these days to admit, hey, you know what? I was wrong about that. But I applaud you for it because sometimes we make mistakes. That's important. But the other concern that I have about the fallout from the COVID shots is this. What happens when we have another serious medical situation in this country, which we will? And there is something that could actually help. And people are going to say, nope, I want nothing to do with it because they've been burned. They've been burned once and then, fool me once, right? And that's how that goes. And I think that there's the ramifications of, hey, having something that actually does work for an upcoming illness, that people are going to say, I don't want it because they got burned so bad about COVID. That's a concern, isn't it?
Yeah, trust has to be rebuilt. And not to get too technical, but with the mRNA technology, if it stayed in the arm, then that'd have been great, from my understanding. But it traveled all throughout the body. And so it had different impacts on different people, on people's hearts, especially young men, on brains, on nervous systems, things like that. And so, true science and to rebuild trust has to look at the quote unquote rare instances, which really aren't that rare in this case, especially when you're looking at that VAERS data.
You look at, and my doctor is not a politically active individual, just somebody who, they have the computer in front of them, the doctors do, right? And every day they get the same alerts from the CDC or the FDA or wherever they come from, and they have the same information. I don't think a lot of these doctors were knowingly doing something that was ill-advised. They were going by the best information they had because they've trusted the information they get for their entire careers. How do we fix that? How do we make sure people that are medical professionals get information we can trust?
Yeah, I think it comes down to exactly what the FDA is doing, what they're doing at HHS is that they're opening things up and they want to have evidence-based information. You know, a lot of people, like my wife and I, when she got the shot originally, she was worried about, because we were trying to have children, and she was asking questions, you know, is this safe, you know, for people that, women that are getting pregnant? And they're like, oh yeah, for sure, for sure. And then, you know, you ask a follow-up question, it's like, well, there haven't been any children born yet. Like, how do you know that? They're like, oh, it's good. But those are fabrications. And the safe and effective slogan that got tossed out there, we know was not true. The 6 feet distance, all this, right? It just kind of was said and pushed upon us. And then we saw as those effective ratings went down and down and down, and people were still getting it, and they lied saying that it wouldn't, you know, cause transmission. And then, oh, well, you know, it just makes it not as harmful when you do get COVID now. And so there's a lot of repair that has to be done.
And by the way, they had no proof of that either, that it made it less harmful. I mean, I see people, you walk into the local pharmacy today, COVID shots available, flu shots available, get them today. I don't know anybody, knowing what we know today, Brad, just like you and I, that would knowingly get another COVID booster shot today. I have no idea what would be going through somebody's mind to do it today, but that's where we are.
I do see, and I don't know if you still see it, but there are still people driving with masks on by themselves.
I see it.
So
I feel sorry for them.
There are a few.
I do. I feel sorry for them. I mean, what happened to you? You know, you're still so wound up in this that I see people walking around with masks. Now, look, now somebody's got an illness. Yeah, sometimes they walk around with a mask, but that's not what I'm seeing. You see somebody walking down the street all by themselves or in their yard all by themselves with a mask on. I'm like, wow, what went wrong in your life, honestly? But you bring up a good point, and that is the information given by the FDA or other government agencies. Look, the biggest lobbying groups in America are all pharmaceutical lobbies. I mean, the number one funder of television are pharmaceutical companies. Number one. Yeah. I mean, that should tell you a lot, shouldn't it? We have got to ban advertising by drug companies, I believe. We're one of only 2 countries that allows it. We should be one to get out of that deal. Do you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. I know that's one thing RFK Jr. has his sights set on, which I applaud that in particular, because when you have, especially the media that's brought to you by Pfizer and brought to you by all these companies, they're going to have way less scrutiny. I've got clips back from 20 years ago where media is, you know, inquiring about, you know, where money goes, who the head of, you know, whatever board, and Moderna, you know, used to be this FDA director or on this council. And, you know, it's something that a lot of people are really, really waking up to, and they're upset about. And again, the trust building has to happen. And that's what I think these guys at the top now are getting so much flack for. But a lot of them, like Jay Bhattacharya and whoever, all these folks that are out there, they were out there battling on the front lines, and they were getting destroyed. They were getting destroyed.
Yeah, they got destroyed. Yeah, it's too bad. Always good talking to you, Brad. Nice to see you. Keep up the good work. Keep up the good fight for us here in Michigan. We appreciate it. And don't be a Notre Dame fan. Really appreciate it.
All right. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you very much. All right, there you have it. We'll take a break. When I come back, the beautiful, the talented, the one, the only Ivy will join me after the break.